This isn't going to be a video about eating more protein or eating your vegetables. We're talking bigger picture, tactics, strategy. As a nutrition coach, I get to chat with loads of people about what has worked and what hasn't worked for them in past diets. This means that I get to see common themes that keep cropping up and crucial mistakes that people have made when trying to diet in the past that have led to ending back up at their starting point. We then fix these mistakes when working together, and as if by magic, they make better progress, dieting is less stressful, and the results are here to stay. I'm going to break down those exact mistakes so you don't have to make the same ones. But first, a little analogy for you. Imagine your diet as pushing a ball up a hill. There will always be some degree of resistance. It's not going to happen by accident, and you do have to put in some effort. But the way you go about your diet, the strategy, the tactics, they dictate whether your diet is like kicking a pebble up a little hill or whether it's like pushing one of those strongman Atlas stones up a mountain. I know which one I'd rather do. Let's jump in. So, the first mistake. A crucial mistake when trying to lose weight is having unrealistic expectations of weight loss. About 0.5% of your body weight per week is ideal for most people. If you're between 60 and 100 kilograms, this equates to 0.3 to 0.5 kilograms per week. If you've been alternating between being on and off your diet, ultimately resulting in ending back up at your starting point, then aiming for a less extreme but more sustainable approach could be the change that you need that leads to lasting progress. The reason for this is that you'll be less likely to experience the negative effects of dieting, like chronic hunger, muscle loss, and intense cravings, if you're aiming for a slower 0.3 to 0.5 kilogram per week target. And because of this, you will end the diet much less fatigued and much more likely to be able to stick to a realistic maintenance style of eating, about 500 calories more than your dieting intake, rather than being so burned out you find yourself overeating repeatedly, going far above and beyond your new maintenance needs, and unfortunately ending back up at square one. Mistake 2 is only using body weight to assess your fat loss progress. If you're doing this, you might be getting unnecessarily demotivated. Now, don't get me wrong, the scale is useful, especially if you compete in a weight-making sport, but it's not the be-all, end-all, and it's a fairly blunt instrument for measuring fat loss. So, how should I assess my progress? Take a weekly average of your body weight from 3 to 7 days, but also take a waist measurement once a week. Then compare your average weight and your waist measurement week to week. This is comprehensive enough to assess whether the scale is telling the full story without needing to measure 20 different points on your body. If your weight is the same but your waist measurements are dropping, this is a pretty reliable indicator that fat loss is occurring. It helps to have an extra variable because the weight may not change despite losing fat. If, for example, you recently began or returned to resistance training, if you recently started taking creatine, if you're in the week prior to your period for females, or if you're highly stressed, as this can lead to water retention and that can mask fat loss if we're only looking at the scale. Mistake 3, when does your current diet end? If you're trying to lose fat and you can't answer that question, you might be making a common mistake, which is not setting a time frame for your fat loss diet. I normally recommend 6 to 12 weeks, lower in that range if you've only got a little bit of weight to lose, if you're already fairly lean, or if you've struggled with adherence in the past. You may need multiple fat loss phases to reach your bigger picture goal. I recommend planning in short diet breaks between each phase to align with holidays or social occasions, and use these periods as mini challenges to practice life at maintenance, eating like a normal person. You'll be much better equipped with weight maintenance habits once you reach your goal physique if you've already had a few diet breaks along the way to practice these habits, rather than running yourself into the ground, doing a 15-week brutal diet, just gritting your teeth and pushing through. But by the end of it, you're so burned out and deprived that there's simply no way you're going to be able to maintain a shred of the healthy habits and structure that you were supposed to be building during the diet phase. If you do these diet breaks right, you will gain a bit of weight, even if you hit your maintenance calories to the exact calorie. This weight is just from water, glycogen, and gut contents, but it will quickly drop back off once you return to your normal routine. This is the point where a lot of people say, F it, but getting back to your pre-diet break diet and exercise routine and seeing the scale drop back down each day will prove to yourself that what I'm saying is true. Sometimes you have to see it to believe it. Mistake 4. If you wake up each morning not knowing what you're going to eat for that day, your diet is going to be sapping so much of your mental energy that you'll probably sack it off after a few weeks. You should have some form of structure, plan, or strategy for the day so you can be confident that you're eating right for your goals. This could be tracking your food or following a meal plan, or even something like time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting, depending on your training and performance goals. I'm going to start eating healthy. isn't enough. Tracking is the most flexible, but also quite effort intensive. Meal plans tend to be the most rigid, but also take up the least mental effort. Intermittent fasting is the most simple, but it's the least accurate or least likely to yield results compared to the other two. I recommend tracking, but following a consistent daily structure or framework. If you do that, you can just copy and paste each day in your tracking app and then make minor tweaks from this framework. It's the best of both worlds. You don't have to input your whole day of eating completely from scratch if you are only tracking without any structure or default meals. But you also have the freedom to swap meals or ingredients whenever you like, and you can easily account for this and still hit the same daily total intake, which is ultimately what matters, which you wouldn't tend to have with a typical meal plan. And finally, mistake 5. If you find yourself craving snacks, especially in the evening, and going back and forth from the cupboard or fridge, spontaneously snacking on whatever is available, it's going to be very hard to achieve any fat loss goals you may have. Here are 3 things you can do to fix this habit. First, if you don't already have 3 to 5 planned meals or snacks in the day, then adding in this structure to your daily diet will help a lot and will mean that you don't barely eat all day and then you get home in the evening ravenous and ready to eat everything in sight. Second, if there's a repeat offender that you often find yourself unable to resist, try to keep it out of the house if possible, or at the very least in an inconvenient cupboard and in an opaque container, so a non-see-through container, so you're not having to constantly see it and resist it. And third and finally, if you are snacking because you are genuinely hungry after dinner, you could eat more at dinner, or you could plan in an evening snack. It's the unplanned part that's the issue, not the snacking itself. Having a little popcorn, chocolate, fruit, yogurt, or low-calorie ice cream after dinner could make your diet that little bit more enjoyable and a little bit less restrictive, so you're able to stick to it for longer and you don't feel deprived all the time. So as a quick refresher, unrealistic expectations of weight loss, only measuring your body weight, not setting a time frame, having no consistent daily plan, and spontaneous snacking. Now, there is one final crucial mistake that I haven't mentioned yet, and that would be not joining my one-to-one nutrition coaching program. If you click the link in the description box below or head to jamesnicholnutrition.com/coaching, you can get all the details. If you're not completely satisfied after 4 weeks, I will refund you. So will I be sharing your incredible results in a few months' time, or will it be someone else's? It's up to you.